Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review here that's really my first review video. I put up an introduction video to the channel, and I decided I wanted to save my first review video, even though I've recorded like 20 other reviews I'm going to upload behind this. As many of you know, in September, we had the new Saw movie, and I couldn't decide on what to cover for my first ever review for the channel, and I gave in and decided after talking with my two really good friends, Anthony and Parker, who I've been friends with for like 10 years, if not longer almost. It's getting right at 10 years now. Anyway, those two young guys kind of recommended that they'd like to see a review for Saw X, which is the newest Saw film, like I said. And I decided, okay, I'm going to go ahead and go with that, and I'll just upload everything behind it. Usually, what you'll see in the future, unless it's a big series like Godzilla or the MCU or something that has like 20 movies, you probably won't see me talk about all the movies in order, unless it's something like Star Wars or, I don't know, something like that. But these big, humongous franchises like Halloween and stuff, they have 13 movies and stuff. That's a little difficult to do. I try to stick with the under 10 movies, and do those in order. But anyway, I wanted to cover something special that meant a lot to me that I don't know how much you guys would care about this, but I thought it would be a nice introduction to me, to my channel, whatever. So I'm a big horror guy, just in case you don't know. My two favorite horror franchises are Saw and Nightmare on Elm Street. And I wanted to cover this because I enjoyed this in a different way than I usually do the Saw franchise. It is a Saw movie, but it's very different in a lot of ways from most Saw movies. Saw X takes place between Saw 2 and Saw 3. It's about 2 hours long. It's directed by Kevin Grudert, I believe is how you say his name, who did Saw 6 and 7, two of my least favorites in the franchise. Yeah, I said that. Get over it. But it's written by the guys who did Spiral, the previous film, and Jigsaw, the one before that. And a lot of people hate those two movies quite a bit, and I don't really understand the hate. The only time I ever felt like something really got different in the Saw franchise was Spiral. And having the same guys do this movie that feels very different from a lot of the Saw movies is kind of not surprising. So Saw X takes place between movie... No, wait a second. Yeah. Movie... Is it 2 and 3? It has to be 2 and 3, right? It has to be. Anyway, Shawnee Smith and Tobin Bell come back to play their respective roles as Amanda and Jigsaw, or John Kramer. And I'm a huge fan of Saw. Like I said, I love these movies. Every time I watch them together, back to back to back, and I never get tired of it because of how creative they are, how imaginative they are, how smart, integral they are, like a TV show that was really thought out. And I love it. They're meant to be watched that way, just back to back, like a television season. And I've been a fan since 2004. When the original one came to DVD, my mom told me about it after she watched it one weekend with my grandparents. I came home from my dad's house that next weekend, or that next day after she had watched it, and she wanted me to check it out. We still have the VHS that we bought to this day, man, at her house. So I've been a fan since 2004 from its inception, man. I think I was 10 years old, maybe right at 9.5, something like that when this movie came out. And it was a big deal when it came out. People forget that. So Saw X, how does it fare in the story department? Well, basically, taking place between Saw 2 and Saw 3, I keep trying to go all Star Wars and call it Episode 2 and Episode 3, so if I do that and don't realize it and don't laugh about it or make fun of it, forgive me. So basically, John is dealing with this cancer. It's looking kind of hopeless, and he has already started being Jigsaw. He's already started catching people, making them kill themselves and shit. Like an emo band, and he basically has already started this, but he runs into a friend of his that he knew when he was getting a lot of his chemo treatments, like I think a year or so before that, and this guy looks like he's a brand new man who also had cancer. He looks like he's way healthier, more fit, more in shape now, and he tells John about this place he went to that was overseas in Mexico. The same thing that John, in a flashback in Saw 6, talked about, and I know that because I rewatched these movies recently before Saw X came out. Sorry I can't review all of them. It's a lot of content, man. It's like 9 movies, plus this one being Saw 10, the 10th of the franchise. Saw X is what it means. But Jigsaw decides to take his friend's advice and go ahead and go to Mexico and get this surgery done. It's kind of a special new surgery no one's ever heard of. It hasn't been like FDA approved and blah, 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 if that fucking matters at all. And he goes ahead and gets it, but it turns out, like the trailer seems to push to, for you, if you happen to see the trailer back in the day, that he gets scammed, big time scammed, and it is so sad. It is so sad. Now, a big criticism about Tobin Bell is that everybody keeps saying he's too old to be a serial killer in this franchise. He's been dead forever in the franchise. That's a fair criticism. That's completely fine. But this is the thing. His older, more frail self, in reality, fits this movie so well because he is at the depths of cancer in this film. And I really love the direction they went with all of that. Having Amanda come back in with Shawnee Smith showing up with this goofy-ass Saw-2 haircut she has to help him out with capturing the guys who scammed him, who faked generosity to him, who faked genuineness to John. Having him catch them and put them in a new trap about halfway through the runtime. It takes like an hour to get there, man. But when it does, it's more familiar to us Saw fans. That first hour, though, is really heartfelt. It's very passionately made in that regard. But let me say this, as well done as that part is, it doesn't feel like Saw. And I had the same criticism with Spiral. Spiral was the first time, again, that things felt so different from a Saw movie. It has a lot of the typical stuff being a copycat killer movie, and that was cool. And I still wish we had a sequel to Spiral to really flesh it out even more, because that movie feels so off in its pacing and rushed and whatever. But I want to see more of that story. But that was the first time that the shock really settled in, that they had started to move away from what we all knew as Saw. Having this come out, it feels like a competently, wonderfully made movie. Probably the best out of Saw 6 and 7 and this one, from Kevin Grudert's work, at least on the franchise. But it feels so different that it just solidifies what I keep saying. Everybody always talks about Kevin Grudert being their favorite Saw director, and I'm like, dude, every time he comes in, he does some shit that I think is a bad choice. Every fucking time. This is a great example of that. Saw X is a good movie, probably the best of the last two that we've gotten. I would say it's better than Spiral. I like Jigsaw more because it's more traditional in the Saw value department, and what they wanted to do with gore and everything else has its complaints. I have problems with it. But I think that film is better than this. I've seen hardcore Saw fans that are friends of mine say the same thing that I said, that this just doesn't feel like a Saw film until that latter half. But the emotions you feel in the first half, you don't really care. It's just really good in that department and really makes you give a shit about John, about Amanda. But I don't like sympathizing with evil people. That's the big thing I have an issue with. Halloween has tried to do this. Nightmare on Elm Street has vaguely tried to do this in the past. Every franchise that tries to make the killer, or the kidnapper, I guess in Jigsaw's case, a victim of some sort, that's a bad route to take. We need to completely refocus on John Kramer is not a good guy. He's a fucking bad guy. So is Amanda. She's a fucking bad guy. But I still like the movie. Does that make sense? I still enjoy this. I still have a good time. And I can't wait for this to come to DVD so I can buy a copy for my collection and really watch it in the marathon with all the other 9 movies every time. This was good for that respect. Let me move on, though, away from the writing and the acting and all of that. The look of the film kind of goes back to that kind of greenish nature, you know? And that's kind of nice, especially in the trap sequence. The practical effects they use have a little bit of CGI blood mixed in sometimes, but most of it, I would say, in the film are practical effects, and they look really good. They're some of the best practical effects in Saw, I would say. The traps aren't the best ever, but the effects, they're pretty good. The ending of the movie, this is where you kind of mix in practical effects, the trap talk, with the writing a little bit. The ending of the film, the finale, I guess, that we end on, to me was not satisfying, almost at all. If I'm being honest with you, these people that Jigsaw had caught this time, these scammers, they're so fucking evil. They're like the people who do all the scam calls to elderly people and try to steal their information to therefore empty their accounts and stuff in reality. I hate people like that so much, and hate theft so much, that I didn't get the satisfaction I needed by the end of this movie, and I think it's bullshit, personally. But that's just me. But the practical effects were good. The music was good in here. I enjoyed that. There's a lack of the kind of music you get from a Saw movie, and Spiral had that too, of course, but it had more of it there, mixed with its shitty rap music, than this has really at all in totality. which is a shame. And again, it kind of takes away that feeling of this doesn't feel like a Saw film. Even down to the editing of Saw X doesn't make it feel like a Saw movie. And that was the beauty of the franchise, is no matter who helmed it, the editing for most of those films that were done basically by the same guy over and over again, they at least felt consistent. Spiral had this issue. This movie has that issue. Jigsaw was the beginning of that, but at least that still felt traditional in the overall movie sense. The twists, the plots, everything. Not so much here. Saw X is a little bit different, but I don't want to seem like I'm coming off so negative. I enjoyed this movie. I had a good time with it. My mom did too, who went to the movie with me in the theaters. It was good. It just was so different that, again, it's kind of like a weird culture shock moment. It's like if you saw a remake of Saw overseas, and it was just so different in its tone and its execution, all of that. That's what this felt like in a weird way to me. But Saw X, at the end of the day, is a good, well-made, again, movie. And I would say it's the best of Kevin Groeder's work, easily. But it doesn't feel consistent with the rest of the series, and I don't like that. It's not that it has to be, it's just that it would be nice if it was. And I feel like that's going to harm where I would rank it out on my franchise ranking. But maybe that's a review video for another day, obviously. But this is a weird one, you know, and again, I'll say it again, I like Jigsaw more than I like this. Spiral, I don't know if I like it more than this. I don't know. It's a very hard comparison because it's so different from that movie. But this was, again, very heartfelt, and it kind of made you sad. It was kind of touching sometimes on how they approach certain elements with John's character in this movie. This is very much a John movie. This is focused on him, not the Jigsaw element as much. Mainly John, which was cool, and I liked that too because it developed him even more. Tobin Bell may have given his best performance ever in the whole franchise, as great as he's always been. This might be his best performance in the entire series. He is wonderful in this movie. But anyway, aside from that, if I had to rate Saw X on a 5-star basis, I would give this like a really high 3 out of 5 stars. It's very different, and it's shocking because of that, like I said, but it's good. It's good. And I think even a normie who had only seen the first couple of Saw movies, which feels like this is why they made this movie, even a normie who had only seen the first 2 films could come in and watch this and love it. I really think that. I've had a lot of people tell me Saw X was the best Saw in the last 10 years or something. I'm like, we've only had 3 movies in 10 years, you fucking doofus. But anyway, what do you guys think about Saw X? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments about it down in the comment section down below. Can you believe next year, 2024, the first movie's going to be 20 years old? That's nuts, dude. Anyway, thank you all for being here. God bless you. I hope you enjoyed Saw X. I'd love to hear all of your thoughts down in the comment section down below. Once again, thank you for watching, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. God bless you, and goodbye.